Hey everyone, and welcome to the What Women Watch podcast. I'm your host, Rachelle.
And I'm Deanne.
This is the podcast where sisters meet the screen, and you'll hear opinions you never asked for. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at What Women Watch Podcast, and on Twitter at What Women Watch. And you can leave us reviews and comments, and we will try to address those as we can. Who knows, maybe you'll even get a shout out. Thank you for joining us today for our first episode. We can't wait to jump right into our first movie review.
Today we are discussing Legally Blonde. The star of the show was Reese Witherspoon as Elle Woods. Other actors included Jennifer Coolidge as Paulette, Luke Wilson as Emmett, Matthew Davis as Warner, and Mooney as Bruiser, the little dog. All of our favorite. The director was Robert Luketic. Pretty sure that's how you say that. Other stuff that he also directed was Monster-in-Law and The Ugly Truth. And basically, the movie was about Elle Woods. She's a happy-go-lucky girl who intends to marry her current boyfriend, Warner. And on a special outing, her dreams come crashing down when he says that he wants to break up with her because she doesn't fit in the image to be his wife. She then tries everything in her power to win him back, including going into and attending Harvard, where she faces many hardships along the way. Even once she discovers of his newfound engagement, she takes it as a challenge to fight harder for her man. She unfortunately discovers she will not be good enough for him and decides to prove him wrong without trying to get him back. In doing this, she discovers a natural talent for uncovering the truth and even wins a court case and graduates top of her class from Harvard. The movie comes to an end, and the audience discovers that she does end up getting everything she wants, including a proposal, but not from Warner, who ends up single, but by the good guy of the show, Emmett. Alright, you guys, it's time for the Big Five breakdown. This is the part of the show where we talk about our 5 takeaways from the movie. Takeaway number 1, girl friendships. Rachelle, how did you feel about the girl friendships and relationships in this movie?
I thought that they portrayed it really, really well, especially in the very beginning with her sorority sisters. Even though they didn't understand the fact that she wanted to suddenly get into Harvard, they were all like, yes, you can do it. This is how you're going to do it. We're going to help you. We're going to support you. No questions asked. They were just like, let's go.
Yeah, and they kept doing their own thing. Like they continued to like be their own people, but they were like, sure, this is just what Elle does now. You know, she's studying for the LSAT or whatever. Mm-hmm. And they help her study, like hardcore. They show like the whole thing. And then even later on in the show, you notice that like, so sometimes in movies they have where the friendships, like you see at the beginning, they kind of go away, the person moves away, and then you never see those friends again in the movie. Yeah. But this movie was different because even while she's in college, you see her being sad, and she gets a phone call, and they're telling her, I'm getting married, and, it's kind of, whatever. And so they're still friends, and then at the end, whenever she's doing her court case, they show up to support her. So even throughout the movie, like they're not just like, oh, they were in the beginning, and then you never hear about them, and she never talks to them again. They were true friends. They stayed throughout the movie. And I think that they did a really good job with that.
Yeah, because like I said, even if they didn't understand what was going on at all, they were still like, Elle is the best.
Yeah, and they never doubted her either. No. They were like, okay, cool.
Yeah, as opposed to like our parents, who was just like, that's for smart people.
Yeah. And then also another friendship that I really liked in the movie was her friendship with the character Paulette.
Yes.
Elle and Paulette were really good friends because you can see that Elle's kind of image of herself starts to change whenever she gets that other friendship in there. And it doesn't take away or, add to her other friendships, but it just adds something to the movie. She gets a lot from that as well.
Yeah, and they both kind of grow because Elle gives Paulette confidence in like her dating life, and then like Paulette gives Elle confidence in like, you don't have to do that for that man, do that for you.
Yeah, exactly. And it shows, it was good because it shows at the beginning, they're like, what do we do whenever we're sad? And they go get their nails done. Well, it was very Elle Woods to she was sad. She had her first like big like cry and whatever, and she goes get her nails done, and then she makes friends with her the nail stylist. So that was actually on point. It wasn't like she randomly went to the nail salon. It was something that they showed in the beginning. It was kind of like foreshadowing, and then it happened. She became good friends with her, like to the point where like I'm pretty sure even at the end, like I think Paulette shows up to her like her graduation. Yes, I'm pretty sure. Yes. So like it shows that like they're friends forever.
Yeah, Paulette even names her daughter after her.
Oh yes,
after Elle, yeah.
Yes, they do, and that's just beautiful.
Beautiful.
So like it shows old friendships that you can still hold on to, and that's still a part of her.
Yes.
But then also like the person that she grows into and the friendship that she makes through that part, and she has that friendship as well, and that doesn't fade either.
Exactly.
And they didn't have to like, okay, so sometimes in shows where women have a friend and then they have a new friend, the friends have to like catfight basically of like, no, they were mine first. They never do that.
No.
It's not even a mention of like, I'm a better friend to her than you. It's just
not at all.
You know, it's just done, and it's done really well.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot.
Yeah. The other friendship in the movie that probably should be addressed is the eventual friendship of her and Vivian.
Yes, that's the woman that's the
Warner's fiance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they start off with her just being like really threatened by Elle and like just knowing that she used to date Warner. So she was like, oh no, I got the ring. So like I'm better. And then eventually it turns out like, no, Elle is right.
Yeah. Well, also Elle wasn't really friends with her either. You know, she wasn't mean to her. She just they weren't friends, like to the point where like Vivian's like trying to destroy her. Yeah.
But then Vivian just realizes Elle's not the enemy. You know what I mean?
No, yeah.
She's not that. She's just a girl who's doing her thing, and I like that Vivian realizes we don't have to fight.
I also really like that the writers didn't wait till the end of the movie to show it. They showed her growth, and then you actually see them as kind of friends, and then she messes up at one point and is like, I took that the wrong way.
Yeah.
But then they're friends again. So like it showed the growth. It wasn't like where at the end it was just like, oh, she's a good person. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry for being a bitch this whole time.
And let's just forgive and hug and make up. It wasn't like years of like bullying and stuff. It was just, I didn't like you at first, but okay, you're all right.
Yeah, it was really just, if you actually watch it, it's just their freshman year where they're antagonizing each other.
Yeah, and then the rest.
And then as soon as they get the internship with Callahan, that's like their sophomore year, they're friendly. Like, they're nice to each other. And like, oh shit, we were wrong.
Yeah. Another friendship that I really liked, which it goes into the lawyery part of the show, but I just liked it, was, I'm not sure what her name was in the show, but the blonde.
The one that's being arrested?
The one that's being arrested. The woman. And I like that they're like, she's like, hey, I recognize you. And then she becomes like, you're who I trust.
Yes.
You know, like Elle, like even the part where Elle gets her alibi.
Yeah.
And she could have just went and been like, I need this job. I like what I do. And, oh, well, I'll just tell them her alibi. She's like, no, sorry, can't tell you it. Take me off the case. You do what you need to do.
Yeah.
But I'm
not going to break that trust.
Nope, not going to break that trust, and I'm going to just move along, you know? You're just going to have to find a different way to prove her right. Another thing that was kind of surprising with that, though, real quick, it's not about friendship, but it was just kind of, they were all like, it almost looked like they all were like, no, she's guilty.
Yeah.
She's guilty.
Yeah, but Elle was the only one who was like, she's not guilty, I believe her.
Yeah, we're all fighting for her, we believe her, but yet these are the lawyers.
And also
like she's not guilty.
The part where we could win this case if you give us the alibi, and Elle's like, well, then we're not good lawyers if we need that.
Yes, that was good.
You know?
That was good. Yeah.
Like, so I like that point.
Yeah. So those were a lot of friendships that I liked. And then also, her little dog.
Oh, Bruiser.
That's it. It also sets it up for, like, I don't know if anybody's watched the second one.
Yes.
But the second one's all about
Bruiser and his biological
mom. Yeah. And so that kind of set that up where, like, he's a character here, but, like, it really sets it up. I like how the writers thought about what they were doing and, like, put things there kind of like they did at the beginning of this movie with the nail salon moment.
Yes.
It looked like, oh, that transitioned into this. It looked like there was a lot of thought behind that.
Yeah. I agree. And Bruiser's obviously my favorite. I love Bruiser.
Yeah. All right. And our second takeaway from this movie was the quote, "What? Like it's hard?"
Love it. Love that quote. His face is just so funny because he's like, yeah, it's hard.
Okay, so basically, if no one's watched this movie, it's a part where Warner, her ex at the time, because he's already broken up with her, or whatever, she meets him in the hallway, and they're talking about like, look, I've gotten, I'm in, we're equals,
yeah,
whatever.
I'm serious.
I'm a, so
I'm a serious student.
Yeah, so we can get married. It can happen, and he's like, what does he say right there? He says,
you got into Harvard Law?
Yeah, and she goes, what? Like it's hard? It's such a good line.
It's such an iconic line. And then if you watch the whole movie and you get to the part where her and Vivian are talking in her dorm room, it comes out that Warner got waitlisted for Harvard. So he actually didn't get in. They say that his dad had to make a phone call and kind of like bribe. They don't say bribe, but I'm assuming he had to bribe his way in. And Elle got it in for just her essay that she and her grades and stuff and her score.
Yeah.
So she got in for her and he got in because he knows somebody, you know? So that line hits extra hard when you think about the fact that he was like, yes, it was fucking hard. How are you here?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And you can kind of see it in his face. He's like, yeah, it was kind of hard. And she's just, no, it wasn't that hard. I took a test.
Yeah. I studied.
Like, what was so hard about this? The other note I would like to take about that, it's hard note is, like, other people in the show, so whenever she first gets to the campus, they have, like, this group of people that, like, I do this, and they're all like, I have a PhD in this.
Oh,
and,
yes, the little orientation group thing.
Yes. And they're like, I worked hard for this. They're not saying I worked hard, but they're all talking about, like, I did this.
They're trying to be the smartest in the group.
Exactly. And Elwood's just like, I am in fashion, and like, this is just a social thing.
Yeah.
And I started to think in that moment, I was like, I wonder, like, I'm sure nobody knows, but, like, whose spot did Elle get? You know what I mean? Because those colleges only accept certain people, like a certain amount of people. And so somebody that has dedicated their life to going to Harvard and, like, being a lawyer, all these things. And Elle Woods, who sent her video in her pool, got in no problem. Yeah. So really, like, it's kind of like, yeah, it's a good moment, but also it kind of makes you think, like, that kind of is sucky for some, somebody out there. It kind of, like, made me think, like, there's sometimes where, like, if it's something that you're actually really, really meant to do, something that just comes naturally and you just fall upon it, it comes easier to you, and it is something in life that, like, it's like, I liked this. And there's some people that want that so bad, or want something particularly so bad, and no matter how hard they try, it's not gonna work because you're trying, or like, it kind of looks like Warner in this situation. Warner's doing it for status. Yes, because his parents want him to. Exactly. So for someone that's doing it for status, or doing it, they're working really, really hard to do something like that, it might not come as natural. It might not come as, like, easy, whatever. So that quote also made me think, like, if you are natural at something, it does come easy. It's like, what? This wasn't that hard to do. But if you've been working on this for a long time, it might feel like, well, why is it so easy for her? And really the only takeaway from that, for me, is if you're natural at something, if it's just something that's in you and meant to be, it's meant to be. It's what's going to happen, and you can't force it. You can't, like, just because your daddy's a lawyer doesn't mean necessarily you should do that, because it don't look like Elwood's family is any type of lawyer at the beginning. Yeah, I'm not sure what her dad does. Whether he's making him good money. Yeah. Or her mom. Maybe her mom's the one that made the money. Who knows? Who knows? But he's sipping that. Is it a martini?
Yes, the martini.
And he even brings that like
to her graduation.
He brings a martini. It's just so funny because that becomes like the dad's personality or something.
It's his martini.
It's his martini because at the beginning he's like, the college is for smart
for
people,
serious people, and you're not that.
Yeah, and then at the end of where she's graduating, he has his martini. He's like toasting her.
Yeah.
So
in the whole college. Just middle of college.
So that was a little takeaway for me right there too. Like it's hard. It is an iconic line, obviously, but it did kind of make me think. Like it made me think seriously. Like, oh yeah, it is easier for some people, you know. And Elle, I don't think she meant it like that.
No,
she was just like, what you mean? It wasn't
because
that
she
hard.
definitely worked her ass off to get there.
Yeah, she studied and stuff.
Yeah, but it does, certain aspects of it come naturally to her because I just think she was meant to do it. You know, like the whole court case thing where she put connections together that nobody else was making. She's observant. She's smart, you know? And it just, a little bit of it comes naturally to her. And you can just see that with, like, just the look on her face, like, it's hard. Because to her, she doesn't know that he got waitlisted at that point. So to her, it must have been easy for him to get there too because that was his plan. So she was like, there was no thought process in her mind that she wasn't going to find Warner there because that's where Warner's going. She even tells that counselor lady, the counselor lady's like, what's your backup schools? And she's like, no, I'm going to Harvard because she is confident that that's where she's going to find Warner. So it didn't matter. Even if she felt like it was hard, she was just kind of fibbing in that moment. She was like, she didn't want to come across as if it was hard because she thought to him it would have been easy because that was his plan. You know what I mean? And that was what was going to happen. Like, Warner and her were going to go to Harvard.
Yeah.
There was no doubt in her mind.
Yeah.
It just shows what confidence can do.
Yeah, confidence and money.
And money, yes. Definitely money.
I would like to point out, this is not part of this, but I would like to point out how hard this would be if you were poor. Because she's just like, you know what, my boyfriend who I wanted to be my fiance, he broke up with me. You know what, I'm going to go to Harvard to win him back. And I'm just saying, if you are poor or just less rich than some people, that would be hard. First of all, you got to get in. But then second off, like, you have to, like, if a teacher from like a poorer district sends in a letter, it's not going to mean as much as if a bigger school sends it in.
Yeah.
So reputation. So like I'm sure that helped a little.
Oh yeah.
And so I mean it's just kind of laughable.
Yes.
It's like,
well, yeah, and also if you listen, at one point she says she gets some famous director who directed her admissions essay.
Yeah.
Like.
It's like, okay. Yeah, I'd have had, like, my mom or
you with the camera.
Back in the day with those cameras, if you had to, like, put the tape in and close it. And then, like, how would we...
And we're not that old. We're not that old. They had cameras that were digital. We couldn't afford those.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So, like, you know, whenever you look at it from a point of view of that, it's like, oh, that's nice for Elle, but that wouldn't work for me. I couldn't chase my boyfriend to Harvard.
No.
I maybe could have went to the same town and met like a coffee shop.
Yes, we maybe could have met up at the local like hangout, but
the library.
It's free to get in there.
But like, so yes, like her confidence and her determination, yes.
This
but
is also
like,
a movie, you know.
Yeah, but also like, okay. All right, I'm going to go find my boyfriend at Harvard, but I'm not just going to go find him. I'm going to attend. I'm sure Harvard costs us
a lot. I'm sure. It's very much
And
expensive.
her dad in the pool doesn't even bat an eye about it. Like, he's not even worried about the money. He's just worried about, like, it's for serious people.
Yeah, he's not like that's an expensive thing to try out. He's not worried about that at all. He's just worried about the fact that she does not seem like she wants to go there.
Yeah, and it doesn't fit her personality
or the idea of the personality that they think she has.
Yeah, so that was kind of interesting there too. What, like it's hard? Well, first of all, it is hard for like people that
it's not naturally gifted.
It's not naturally gifted. And it's also might be hard for people that are, poor. So, just something to think about.
Yeah, something to take away from what, like, it's hard. Our point is, have the confidence of Elle, but, it helps to have the money.
It helps to have the bank account.
Don't get so, like, down on yourself if you don't make it, because, she had a lot going for her.
She had a lot going for her. Okay, so our point number 3, that we're moving on to number 3, is the part of the movie. I think it's probably the most iconic part of the movie. I could be wrong, but to me, it's what I hear people say whenever they hear Legally Blonde. They say the bend and snap. So, Rachelle, take us away with your takeaway on the bend and snap.
Okay, first off, I would like to point out that it's the thing that when I would think about the movie from my childhood, that was the scene that I remembered, the bend and snap. It's even in the next movies. I'm pretty sure even that one, the one about the twins, you remember that one, like the third one?
Yes.
Nobody's probably seen.
It's like
I think they do it too, if I remember correctly. But anyway,
I'm not sure.
Rewatching it and realizing the thing that she says right before she shows Paulette is, my mom taught me this when I was in junior high, and that realization hits you, and you're like, her mom taught her to use her boobs and her ass, which is what the bend and snap does, to get a guy in junior high. How old is that? How old is junior high?
Junior high is like 13 and less, and like 10 and older.
Exactly. That is too young. Too young to be told and taught how to use your body to attract a boyfriend.
Yeah.
Just to and I'm not saying attracting a boyfriend as a woman is a bad thing. It's fine, but you shouldn't be taught how to sexualize yourself.
Yeah, and then there's comments nowadays that people make, and this might be a little controversial for our first episode. But I've heard multiple people say, like, whenever people are like, oh, my child is gay or whatever, people are like, oh, we're over sexualizing children. And I'm like, the bend and snap was taught to Elle in junior high. Was her mom not teaching her how to use her body?
It's a sexualized
and I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying that we should be sexualizing our kids.
No, we should not.
That's my point. You shouldn't.
Yeah.
I think my point with that is you shouldn't do it for straight people or anybody.
Yes, no.
The rule applies everywhere. Yeah. That's basically what I'm saying.
Yeah, even when I came out at 16, people thought they went straight to well, how do you know you've never had a girlfriend? That has nothing, like, what does having a girlfriend mean different than me knowing myself? Mm-hmm. It's just there would have been some sort of physical thing that I could have tried out, is what their point was. But that
you weren't doing the bend and snap.
Oh God!
To all the girls in the hallway.
All the girls in the hallway.
I drop my bend.
Oh God, yeah. Mm-hmm. No, I agree. People are so quick to be like, if anything that's not completely straight, they're like, oh, that's sexualizing children. Yeah, we stick children, like really small children, into like lady killer shirts when they're like a newborn.
Yeah. Or like the little boys, they're like, oh, the stud. I'm the stud. And I'm
stud like, muffin. I've seen that shirt multiple times in the toddler section.
Yeah. So like, yeah, it is.
We shouldn't not be.
Yeah, you shouldn't do it at all.
That's a weird thing to do. Stop.
It's something I've never understood.
No.
And then that's what I'm saying. Going back to the movie with the her saying that she learned it in junior high. That's what stuck out to me. Is I was like, huh.
No one bats an eye.
Nobody bats an eye at that. Like, because it wasn't like, okay, so whenever you're young and you're watching a movie with like your parents or something, if something awkward comes on the TV, they're going to be like, they make a face. You notice it as a child. You might not catch on to what it is, but you notice it.
Yeah.
And watching this movie as a child, because I've watched this movie pretty much my whole life.
Yeah.
I don't remember ever watching this movie with anybody and then being like, oh, she learned that in junior high. Oh, that's a little young. You know, I don't remember that.
No.
So, like, it was really surprising because I haven't watched this movie in a while.
Yeah.
It was really surprising to me whenever we were sitting down and we were watching together, and we both kind of, like, the part came on, and she was like, I'm just going to show you. And it's not a big part. We're making it sound like it's this huge deal. No, she literally says it, and then it moves on. She says, yeah, Mama, I'm going to show you something my mom taught me in junior high. And literally, I'm pretty sure I saw me and you writing down.
Yeah.
And then we looked at each other like, oh,
she said junior high?
Yeah.
Not even high school, which would still be inappropriate in my opinion.
Well, not that.
Junior high.
She's already been through fashion school. She's even been through a little bit of college. She didn't say, my mom taught me this in my early 20s.
Yeah.
You know, she was like, my mom taught me this in junior high.
That is way too young.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't know if that was, the best line in there.
No, you have to think.
Realization,
Yeah, you have to think about the things that you teach your children at such a young age is what's going to be their core values. So it's no wonder that at the beginning of the movie, Elle is so devastated to not get the ring from Warner because her mom has literally instilled in her from junior high that the only thing she's got going for her really, or at least a really important thing, is to use her body to secure a man.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah, and then he's like, "You don't fit the image," and I'm sure that was damaging little because
she worked so hard on her image.
Yeah,
obviously.
She works very hard on her image. She works very hard on being, good and everything. And then he's like, "You don't fit the image," and she's like, "Huh?"
Yeah.
Like what about me? And then obviously the show is called Legally Blonde, so it's because she's blonde, which is kind of funny because he goes and gets like the most brunette person next. Short brunette, like this short hair brunette girl. But but yeah, but the Ben and Snap, going to the good parts of it, it's like getting past that part, like if you just mute your TV at that part and then watch it. It's funny because it's adult. She's an adult now doing it. And it's funny
she's giving Paulette confidence.
Yeah.
Because Paulette doesn't feel beautiful in her body. Like, she makes comments about the fact that she's got stretch marks and stuff. And if Elle can't keep her man, then what hope does anybody like us have? And it's like, Paulette is beautiful.
Yes.
So, and Elle never tells her that she's not beautiful. Elle is like, no, that man was wrong to dump you. You are gorgeous.
Yes.
This is how you...
Can I just point out right there, it actually does show some growth from Elle right there, because at the beginning, Elle does value her image a lot.
Yes.
And then she goes on to tell Paulette, like, no, your image isn't, he should be lucky to, have you or whatever. And so that's kind of interesting there. You see some growth there.
Mm-hmm.
Something else I like to point out about the Ben and Snap is, like, after the whole thing, she learns Ben and Snap, and it's great. And the reason she gets taught that is the confidence thing, but she also has a crush on the delivery
guy, yeah.
And something else that was just funny. It just made me laugh, so I just wanted to talk about it. Is whenever she sees the delivery guy again, she thinks about it. She's like, "Oh yeah, I have a new technique."
The Ben and Snap. She drops that pin so dramatically.
She drops the pin and then she bends and then she snaps and breaks his nose.
And he still marries her and has a kid with it. Beautiful.
Yeah.
True love there.
Could you imagine the story behind it?
Oh, yeah.
I wonder if he asked her, like
what was going on?
Why did you pop up that hard?
Yes. Right? And I think the good thing about that, because obviously, like, the Ben and Snap is funny, but it's portrayed as how you get the man interested. But it's very obvious from watching it that man is interested in Paulette the entire time.
From the beginning,
he is like, I want to talk to this woman, but she's shy.
Because he keeps saying, I have a package.
I have a package for you. But, so I like the fact that that's not what won him over. Like, yes, it was cute, and it got her confident, but that is not what made him like her.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, is that it made her confident.
It made her confident.
It was like her, like, moving point of, like, I'm showing you I like you.
Yes.
And then he was like, yeah, I like you. I've been
liking you.
Yeah. And then, obviously, it moves on and they're great. And I just thought it was funny because Could you imagine your story being to your child? You know, because your child usually will ask, like,
how'd you meet?
How'd you meet? Well, you see, I was the delivery guy, blah, blah, blah. And then
she broke my nose.
She broke my nose, and you know that's that.
I was hooked.
Yeah, I just couldn't
see myself with anyone else.
Also, like, okay, so I feel like if you break your nose, like, it's hard to use your face.
Yeah.
So, like, the first couple weeks of them dating, they probably couldn't kiss because he'd be like,
"Ow!" Yes, in the courtroom when they come watch Elle, I'm pretty sure when she wins, Paulette turns to kiss him, and then he's like, "Ow, ow, ow!"
Yeah,
in the background.
Yeah, so it kind of forces them to not have a physical
they
connection.
have to talk.
They have to talk because you remember you punched me?
Yeah, you knocked me out.
So yeah, that's kind of funny too.
Uh-huh.
So moving on to point number 4, we're getting there. Getting through the movie. This part, I used to, as a child, it was like, it probably because it cursed, and as a child you feel like badass, you feel impressive because I cursed. But I used to love saying, "I'm taking the dog, dumbass," and I'm gonna let Rachelle get into it first, but I have some thoughts about this one that I was just like, it didn't land well.
Like you said, I loved that. I loved that as a child, and it's such a powerful moment because Paulette is feeling confident. She's standing up for herself. She's taking back her dog, which is like her baby, and that's beautiful.
Aren't dogs always our baby?
Yes.
It's another dog moment. I love the Legally Blonde dog moment.
I love how dog-centric it is. But, like, she's taking it back. She's getting her confidence from this man who basically stole her confidence. It is what it kind of portrays. Mm-hmm. Because they said they dated for, like, 8 years, and then he found someone else and kicked her out. Yeah. And that's horrible. And it is such a good moment for her to be like, fuck you, I'm taking my dog. You don't have control over me anymore. And that's the parts about that scene that I really love. But Deanne did bring up some good points after we finished watching it, so I'm going to let her get into her points.
Okay, so one big reason I've always liked Legally Blonde, like, as a child, is because, Rachelle has always been the smart cookie of the sisterhood. She just book smart wise. It's kind of like Elle Woods. It came naturally to her. Yeah. For me, I had to work for it. It wasn't as natural. We'll just say I wouldn't consider myself to be dumb, but no, it wasn't as natural as it was for Rachelle. Anyway, so I really liked the movie growing up because I was like, yeah, just because I am, I am a certain way or whatever, that doesn't make me stupid.
No, yeah.
I like that. I can, because, okay, yes, she is very, very smart on paper too, but what I'm saying is, like, everybody looks at her like a dumb blonde because, she knows a lot about fashion. Well, fashion won her court case. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It was like, so I might be smart in something that makes me smart. Maybe I'm not as book smart, but I am smart with other things. That's what I meant by that. So I had a problem with this because I felt like it was such a good character moment. Mm-hmm. Very good for Paulette. Like, this is her moment. This is it. But rewatching it as an adult and this being like what was supposed to be like a big moment, I feel like they could have done it differently because Elle comes in and she walks up, she puts her glasses on, she changes her appearance a little bit. She puts her glasses on, she wears her hat, and she's saying all these big legal words.
Mm-hmm. To try to confuse him.
Not a big deal if, like, it's a different movie. But in this movie, we're supposed to be saying that
whatever you look like doesn't equate your smartness.
Exactly. And earlier in the movie, it is made into a comment about, they say actually the words white trash. Yeah. She says, I'm not white trash, which means she believes there are people that are white trash. Yeah. Which comes into this moment where she's looking at this man and she thinks, this is white trash. He lives in a trailer. He looks poor. He looks dumb. And I just didn't think it sat well with me because if we are not supposed to judge a pretty girl off of her looks based on, like, how smart she is because she's blonde, I don't think we should
judge him
Yeah, for
or
living in a
his
trailer.
Intelligence, at least.
Yeah,
yes, he is an asshole.
Absolutely. That's why that moment, like, didn't sit well with me, because I wanted it to be so good.
Yes.
Because he was a bad person in the show.
Yes.
And it didn't sit well with me because I was like, oh, and then she's coming in trying to tell him all these confusing things because she's like, oh, he's not going to understand this. Yeah. Obviously, you can tell in her face. And because he's like, yeah, I don't know what that is. And she's like, yeah, I thought so.
Exactly.
And then they go to the thing.
It wouldn't have been a big deal. Would have hit different if he'd have not, because they made him look bad. They picked a character that looked like he was overweight, a little overweight. He was not wearing nice clothes. He was literally living in one of those metal trailers, not even like a trailer. It was a little metal trailer.
Yeah, no, like a trailer house. It was like a mobile trailer.
Yes.
The metal. Yeah.
They made him look the worst they could have.
They made him look lesser.
Yes.
And why is that lesser?
And why is that lesser?
Dumb?
Why is that dumb?
So the whole point of the movie is to not judge on appearance.
And they stereotyped him.
Yeah, they stereotyped him, and the last line, whenever she's like, I'm taking the dog, dumbass, she literally calls him a dumbass. And I just feel like that sat wrong with me, because if she just said, I'm taking the dog, jackass, anything else, you know what I mean? Like, yes, jackass or something, or you know, bitch asshole, or anything else. She could have just said, I'm taking the dog. Yeah. You know, it didn't even, it might not have been as iconic, but just the saying of dumbass.
Yes, they're talking about the fact that he looks dumb, and he is dumb, and that didn't work with the point of the movie of don't judge the books by the cover.
Yeah, because like I said, it's she's blonde, and yes, we shouldn't judge her for being blonde, but we also shouldn't judge the poor people being. And the reason I also feel like that is because also at the beginning, they don't just say white trash in the salon whenever they're getting their nails done. They're like, oh, she's so depressed, she's letting her nails chip.
She's eating like grilled cheeses or something.
Yeah, and then they say trailer trash.
Yeah.
They say trailer park. And it's kind of alluding to what they think is lesser.
Yes.
So like the point of the movie is to not think lesser of people because of certain situations, but like it kind of felt like in that moment, and I know that's probably not what the director was going for, but in that moment it felt like, the pretty people aren't lesser, but whenever it comes to poor or
what they consider unattractive.
Yeah, what they consider unattractive people, they're kind of dumb.
They're kind of dumb.
And they got away with it because he's the bad character.
Yeah, because he's an asshole.
So
we're not disagreeing he's an asshole.
So you can call the asshole dumb.
As long as he's an asshole.
But that's not
how it works.
Still not nice.
Still not nice.
And I feel like the point of the movie is to be nice to people.
Yeah.
So it just didn't sit well with me. And it was surprising because growing up watching the movie, that was... Yeah, it was kind of like the Ben and Slap. I was just, I love this part, I'm taking the dog, dumbass.
Yeah. It's her voice. Anything she says, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Love her.
But so that's where it's at with me. Do you agree?
Oh, yeah, I definitely agree. As soon as you said it, I was like, oh, you're right. You're right. I get so caught up with he was an asshole, so let's throw everything at him because I don't like assholes. Mm-hmm. But then I'm like, no, you can't do that in this movie because movies should have rules. And they broke their rule. They broke the don't judge a book by its cover by doing that. They judged him completely by what he looked like.
Yeah, and that happens a lot in movies. It really does. It happens a lot in movies where they take the bad character, the villain, the bad character, whatever you want to call it, and they make them unattractive. They'll either make them poor or unattractive or scary looking or whatever. And then that kind of like in our brain that has to do something with like what we consider good people. Yeah. Because if those sorts of people are always categorized as bad and whatever, then that does start to, oh, well, yeah, they are dumb or they are bad or they are, you know what I mean? And that's
different things
evil.
Like that, yeah.
And like, I just don't think that that's great to
do. No, one of my favorite things about like Beauty and the Beast was that Gaston was specifically beautiful, but he was the bad guy. Yeah. And I thought that was revolutionary. Yeah. Because you don't see that in anything. And it showed like the pretty person does not have to be the hero.
No. No, it doesn't. That's very true. And so, those were my problems.
Yeah.
not shitting, on
poor people or unattractive people. It was
Yeah.
fine that he was an asshole.
It's also fine that he lived in a trailer.
Yes,
okay.
it was completely fine. Even if nothing about the scene visually would have changed, he looked exactly the same. He lived in the same situation. If nothing visually would have changed, but they didn't make Elle walk in and mess with his like intelligence and like point that out specifically, it'd have been a fine scene.
Yeah.
The scene would have worked.
Well, yeah, because what they were trying to go for is I'm her lawyer.
Yes.
If they would have, I don't know, if they would have just did it a little differently with like I'm her lawyer and made her look like
actually used, because she was just making shit up. She wasn't even making any sense. If you actually know what any of those words mean, she was not making sense. She was just saying shit to confuse him.
That's what I'm saying. So if she would have walked up and used actual knowledge, this is against the law due to this, and this, and you will get in trouble.
Yes, it would have been like, oh shit, you're right, or fuck you, I want Paulette to tell me that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And Paulette would have said, I'm taking the dog, dumbass. It would have worked because they weren't questioning his intelligence.
Yeah, but it's just kind of the delivery. It's just kind of how they did it.
How they
came in, said some mumble jumble.
Yeah.
And
made him feel dumb.
He was like, yeah, I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Because I'm so poor.
Yeah, exactly. I'm so uneducated and poor.
Yeah, and that's just how it landed for me.
It is just how it landed.
It might not land like that for other people. Other people might be like, oh, yeah,
well, yeah, but we grew up poor, so we see that sometimes.
Yeah.
And movies have a bad habit of doing stuff like that.
Yeah. Poor people are looked at as lesser. And
or more likely to like steal and stuff in movies. And I'm like, we're not. We don't want to go to jail. We couldn't afford to get out.
Yeah. So that was just, that was a moment there. And, that's just my opinion. Not everybody has to have that opinion. Not everybody has to agree. It's, it is what it is. I wouldn't like argue with anybody. If you really like that scene, that's great.
I really like that scene.
Yeah.
I just think it could have been better.
Yeah. I just, being someone that liked the movie so much because of the don't call people stupid. I like that.
Yes.
It didn't.
It rubbed the wrong way.
It rubbed the wrong way for me. Also, first of all, don't call people stupid. Also, not all poor people are dumb and trash.
Yes.
And it also wouldn't have been as bad
if they hadn't have been talking about trailer trash
at the beginning of the movie.
Trash,
and that's another thing that they didn't talk about it. It was just a mention.
Oh yeah, no, it was not something that she grew from. It was something that was just a part of the language of the movie.
Yeah, and it was
same with Paulette using the R slur. It was never mentioned again. Yes. It was never something like, oh, you shouldn't say that word. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It was just...
It was the language of the movie, and it could have something to do with the time. The movie was made in 2001. Yes. And, whatever. But if we're going to review a movie, I'm going to be honest.
I'm going to be honest.
I'm going to be honest. We are currently in 2024, and
it doesn't work anymore.
It doesn't work anymore.
Can't say those things.
You can't say those things and just be like, well, it was.
Yeah.
If I were to come on here and be like, it was a great movie, there was no problems, and then someone go watch it and be like, oh my god.
Yeah. There were some problems.
There were some problems, and yes, I could chalk it up to the times. It's not that it's not a good movie.
This is a movie that you could chalk up to the times. There wasn't so many things wrong with it that it's like that was wrong back then, horrible.
Yeah,
it was just a thing.
And some people might watch it and be like, no, I can't chalk that up to the times. I'm sorry, that can't be said. You can't say that.
No, absolutely, you can't say it. But
no, but I'm talking about some people are like, no, I don't want to watch that movie because of these things.
Yeah, and that's
so. If you're listening to the podcast and you're like, I can't watch that because of these things, don't watch it.
Yeah, definitely. Different people have different triggers. There's certain things that are small that I can't watch because I just get triggered by it, so I can't watch those certain things. But that doesn't mean that everybody can't watch it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So if you're a listener and you can, you're just, it was the times, it was 2001, go ahead and watch it. It's an alright movie.
It
but if those type of things trigger you,
maybe don't watch it.
Maybe don't watch it.
Yeah.
Okay, last thing.
Yep.
Number 5. Callahan's pass at her.
Yes.
So this is basically a part, again, if you've never watched the movie, where he's like, hey, come to my office. They're going to talk about,
her future, I think, is what he says to get her in the room.
Yeah.
Oh, Callahan's also her professor. That's context that's needed. He's got her in this special group that helps him do real court cases. It's like a really big internship thing. He calls her in the room and they're alone, and it's late at night after they've been working all day. And he's like, I could make your future really good and I can do all these things for you. And then he reaches out and holds her leg, and it's insinuated that he wants her to sleep with him in order to get those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he touches her knee.
And he looks in her eyes and like, what I could do for you depends on what you can do for me.
Yeah, and she never contemplates it. She obviously she gets up, immediately, she gets mad, she's like, runs out, absolutely not. Which is where Vivian, the other character,
she oversees the wrong thing,
and she gets upset and says, "Oh, well, I see why you got, where you are," and it's a kind of a shitty.
Yeah, because Elle is like
to say at that point.
Yeah. Elle, at that point in the movie, is really confident in herself, like, I can do this, I am good at this. People are looking at me like they're taking me seriously.
Finally!
And then it's like, he wants to use my body to give me the things that I've earned.
And then did I not
earn them?
Yeah, and then one of her friends is just like, so easy to just be like, yep, makes sense.
That makes sense. You look like someone who would sleep your way to the top.
Yep, exactly. Which is a low blow. But in the movie, it was meant to be a low blow. Yes, I'm not talking bad about it. It's not like, oh, they shouldn't have did it. No, like, in the movie, I think they did really well with it.
Yeah.
So whenever he does that, the guy that she ends up getting engaged to at the end, he never wavers. Like,
Elliot.
Yes, Elliot. He's like, Is it Elliot?
Yeah, no, it's Elliot.
No, it's Emmett.
Emmett! Oh, shit. You're right.
Anyway, he never wavers or anything. He's never like, guys will be guys.
No.
He is the boss.
Yeah, no.
He's never like that. He's just straight up like, yeah, that's wrong. No,
that's a dick move.
Please keep your job. Yeah. Like, he's bargaining with her.
Don't let him ruin your career, is what he's basically saying.
Yeah, exactly. And Elle's like, I just can't handle this, whatever. And then whenever Vivian's talking and she's like, oh, well, whatever. He's like, no, you don't know what happened. He made a pass at her and, whatever.
She got upset, yeah.
So where, like, later on, they just do it so well because later on she comes back and the girl's like, I don't want Callahan to represent me anymore. I want Elle Woods. And they're like, how are you going to do that without a, lawyer or whatever? Like a big lawyer.
Yeah.
Big.
A bar-passed lawyer.
Yeah. And Emmett steps up and he's like, I'll do it.
Oh, yeah, I'll supervise.
That's to me, a big moment for 2001.
Yeah.
Because he's not like, he doesn't even think about it.
No.
He's like, I'll do it.
Well, yeah, because this is like his career.
Yeah. That's his boss.
That's his boss. He's trying to get in with that group of lawyers.
Yes. And he's just like, nope. That's unexcusable.
Unexcusable. Not going to do that. I'm going to stake my reputation and my career on her.
Yep. And that was, I really enjoyed that.
Well, yeah.
I was like, immediately in my head, whenever, like, the little carny scene at the end where they get engaged at the end of the night, whatever. But, like, I was like, yep, I like him. I like him. It solidified, like, he's a good guy. He stood up for, like, it was good. It was really, really good. I liked it. I liked it a lot. And then they were like, you're going to let her represent you? That's, like, the wrong decision. And she's like, yeah. I
don't care. That lady never cared about actually winning. She only cared about, like, her reputation, which is hilarious. Because she didn't care that she was going to be labeled a murderer. She just didn't want to be labeled a fraud.
Yeah,
she was like, if I'm going to lose, Elle's going to lose. I'm not having Callahan represent me.
Yep, and I like that. Girl power.
Girl, get it.
Yeah.
And then when she's telling Paulette goodbye because she's going to leave, and then her other professor, that lady whose name I don't remember, who was so awesome, was just like, if you let that asshole ruin your life, like, that would be the wrong decision because there's always going to be an asshole.
Yeah, I think she says something like, you're not the girl I thought you were.
Yeah.
Which kind of it's kind of a cool moment because it makes Elle realize, like, oh.
She did have confidence.
She had confidence in me. Oh, wait.
People have confidence in me.
Okay, so if I just let this, if I just get rid of this guy, I'm not going to work with him.
No.
Not going to work with him.
No.
But if I go back and I stand my ground, I'm not going to let it's kind of a moment. Okay, so at the beginning of the movie, she lets a man decide her fate because she goes to Harvard. Yes. And in this moment, I took it as, I'm not letting another man decide my fate.
Exactly.
I'm done. You know what? I want to do this. I'm going to stand up. This is for me. I'm smart. I'm good.
I have confidence in me.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't need his confidence. So exactly. I have the confidence.
And I think that scene worked so well because I saw it. I saw the pivotal moment. I saw it in her eyes where she was like, got it. I'll do it myself. Mm-hmm. I don't need you. I don't need another man to, help me not say men are bad. But, no. But that was like an Elle Woods moment of like, I'm not going to let another man,
decide my fate.
Yeah, which was great.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great whenever you're a woman and you can finally decide that men aren't
they aren't the last say.
Yeah.
They aren't who should decide things. You are your person.
Yeah.
You should decide the things for you. Definitely. I think if you need help with certain things, you shouldn't be afraid to ask for help. Everybody needs help. Everybody needs help. And that's fine. But they shouldn't always be able to dictate what you're going to do next.
Yes.
And I agree with you. That was probably the point of that because the beginning, Warner decided unintentionally that she was going to go to Harvard.
Yeah.
And Callahan in that moment could have decided for her to leave Harvard, and she decided she was not going to listen and she was going to do it herself.
Yeah, exactly. Make sure to let us know what y'all thought about these. Now time to rate the movie with sister scores. So Rachelle, we're using our heart system to rate. What do you rate this movie?
I had wrote down 4 hearts because it's such a nostalgic movie, and even with the little bit of tweaking I'd have done to the movie, it still is that kind of movie that makes your heart feel good.
Yeah.
So I gave it 4 stars.
Yeah.
4 hearts.
I gave it 3 hearts because I thought it was good, and like we said, that means it had some good qualities, and that is true to what I rated it. I thought it had good qualities, but there were a couple scenes here and there, and we've talked about them, that I was like, I can't give it 5 because
could have been better.
Could have been better. All right. So Rachelle, do you have any last a question that you could ask?
Yes. I wanted to ask our audience if they think that this movie is good because it's so nostalgic or because it actually held up over the years. That would be my question to the audience.
Good question.
Yeah.
My question would be for Elle Woods.
Yeah.
I want to know, what were you most proud of? Was it graduating from Harvard with honors for something you love, or getting engaged that night to someone you love? Just because it was it happened both in the same night, and I want to know, did she change her values? Is she proud of herself more, or which getting married is a big thing.
Yeah.
But, do you were you really proud of that?
Yeah.
And I hope she was.
Both ways.
All right. It is officially time for Ask the Audience. So, our question this week, after watching Legally Blonde. So, what is the cringiest thing you've ever done to try and win an old fling back? And did it work?
Yes, exactly. And you can all answer that question by going on either our Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, whatever. Send us a comment, send us a message. Our Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube is at What Women Watch Podcast, and our Twitter is at What Women Watch. So you can go follow us on there, answer the question, do whatever. You can watch for our announcements for our next upcoming podcast and things like that. Our podcast drops every week on Thursday, so we hope you stay tuned on Spotify for the What Women Watch podcast.